And welcome to SOLIDWORKS Skills video.
In this introductory video, I'll be demonstrating some of the main sketching tools that you'll use to design your parts. A sketch is a two-dimensional representation. It contains rectangles, circles, and other shapes that can be extruded or used to create solids. It's always within the context of a part, so let's create a part right now. I'll do File, New. I've already selected Part. I'll click on OK. When I first come into a part, there's nothing there, no sketches, no features at all. Let's go ahead and create a sketch. You click on Sketch. Now make sure the Sketch tab is highlighted. If another one is highlighted like this, click over to Sketch and then click on Sketch. The first thing it will do is ask us what plane we want the sketch to live in, remembering that a sketch is a two-dimensional representation. You can pick any plane you like. I often will pick the front plane. Now that I have my plane selected, I am ready to begin using any of the sketching tools that I need to create my drawing. Since they're used very frequently, let's start with the line tool. If you notice that there is a particular kind of line indicated, if I were to click here where I'm showing, you would get the line, the ordinary line, which is an endpoint line. If, however, you look to the right of that, you see that there's a down pointing triangle. If I click on that, that allows me to choose other options that may be of use. Right now, let's just go ahead and create an ordinary line. We click once. Now I'm moving my mouse out into the working area, and you'll see that as I move around, I'm not clicking at this point, that a dotted line will occasionally show up when I am immediately in line with other interesting features. Now right now the only interesting feature is the center or origin. I'm going to ignore that for now and just draw a random line. So I will click once, drag to another location, and then click again. Once you've done that, the tool is ready to draw yet another line, and it shows you, you can see it here in yellow, that there are right angle lines shown, right angle to the line that I've just created. Sometimes you may want that kind of automatic behavior. Right now I'm going to click not on one of those lines, click again, and if I decide that I'm done, what I can do is either press the escape key to leave the line tool altogether, or double click, which is what I'm going to do, and that ends the current line, but it keeps me in the mode of drawing another line. So you notice that the cursor still has that line appearance. I'll click on an endpoint, drag away, click, and now I can either double click to end it, or I can even go to one of the vertices. I'll go to this open one, and now I've created a closed shape. Once SOLIDWORKS recognizes that the shape is closed, it will end the current line. Notice I'm not currently drawing a line, but it has not left the line tool, which is often desirable. So I'm going to push the escape key one time, and here we are back. Here's our sketch with this odd assortment of connected lines, this polygonal shape. Next tool we're going to discover is another line type, but this one I'll click on the down arrow and I'm going to select center line. And the name is a little misleading. What it really means is that this is a line about which there will be no feature. It is merely for reference. It's often called a construction line. So if I were to click somewhere and drag, you'll notice it has a dashed appearance. If I click again and then double click, now I have what's called a construction line. If I were to proceed now to finish the extrude function, the boss base, it would ignore all construction lines. The only lines that would pay any attention to are the solid lines, the actual object lines. Moving on in our tools, we have a corner rectangle. That's the default. There are other kinds of rectangles. Basically, it allows you to choose where your starting point is and whether the rectangle is aligned with the current XY axes, or whether it's controlled and can be oriented at any arbitrary angle. The corner rectangle is probably the most commonly used tool, so let's click on that. And again, if I click once, it begins the shape. I can drag like a rubber band out to another area, and if I click again, now it has planted, and I have a closed shape. Now this closed shape happens to have 4 internal right angles, and the horizontal and vertical lines are both parallel with each other or perpendicular, and they are aligned with the axes of the part itself. The plane, if you were to look at the X and Y axes, you can see that this line here is parallel to the X axis. If I wanted a rectangle that did not align with those axes, I could, for example, click on a 3-point corner rectangle, and this allows me, I'm going to scroll out a little bit and scroll back in. By the way, I'm doing this with my scroll wheel on the mouse. So if I click once, drag down, click again, and then drag and click, notice I can create, it is a rectangle that has 4 right angles in the corners, but it is now not aligned with the X and Y standard axes. The next important tool is the slot tool. If, for example, you want to create a slot for a screw, an adjustment, you could click here, and watch what happens. I'm going to go out into an open area, click once, and drag. Now I could drag horizontally or vertically or at an angle. I'm going to drag horizontally for now, and that will plant the 2 center points of the half circles. Notice as I drag out now, I can define the diameter, but the line, the construction line, notice that it is a construction line that joins the 2 centers, is now fixed because I finished that part of the operation. Once I click again, there I am with a slot. We will be talking about dimensioning in a future video, but get to know that these tools are here, so if you want to create one of these particular shapes, this is how to do it. There are other options in the slot. You can have center point, 3-point arc, and so on. The straight slot is probably the one I use the most. I will occasionally use the center point straight slot. We'll try that right now. So here, notice it emanates from a center point. So if you knew, for example, that you wanted a screw slot to be centered on a particular feature or point, you could use this tool, and then once again, once I plant it, I drag out to define the radii of the groove itself, click again, and now I have my slot. Let's scroll out and make a little bit of room here. The next important tool, in no particular order, is the circle tool. It's exactly what you think. When you click, you define the center. It shows you, based on the current units, what the radius is of the circle at that time. You will be doing dimensioning on everything, so don't get too hung up on the exact numbers. Yes, you can type it in if you want to. Here, most people just draw an approximate circle and then dimension it after the fact. Another kind of arc would be a center point arc, where you would click on it, click on a center, and then you click once, and now you can define a portion of an arc. Notice you can have up to a full circle or any portion thereof, and it shows you in degrees the approximate angle that you're going to include. Click again and you've created that arc. One of the most important tools here for me, because I'm often using hardware like a nut, a hexagonally shaped nut, is the Polygon. Although Polygon can be any number of sides, 6 is very frequently used. As with the circle, once you click on the tool, you can define how many sides, and we can change that after the fact. I'm going to click in an open location and drag. Oh, that didn't quite work. Let's try that again. Click in an open location. There's a polygon, and notice that it has drawn it. I can dimension that. Let's do it one more time. You can see it in yellow developing. I'm not sure why SolidWorks shows it in yellow, but there it is. And notice that you can have any orientation you want. As with other operations, I tend to pick a non-horizontal or vertical orientation so that later on I can give it whatever constraint or relation that I want. For example, if I wanted to add a horizontal relation to one of the sides, I would go up here to display relations. I'd add a relation, click on a side, make it up. Let me clear this selection. Let's do it one more time. Click on a side, make it horizontal, and it will snap now to that orientation. If I want to create a polygon of a different number of sides, I can draw it. Notice it comes in initially in yellow. I can increase or decrease. Now you can have down to 3 or as many as you want. Notice as I'm clicking up, it becomes more and more looking like a circle. But as I said, 6 or 4 are probably the two that I use most frequently. So let's scroll to a new fresh area here. We'll accept that. The next tool that we would use, I don't use spline a great deal. I do occasionally do an ellipse. We'll show that right now. I'll click on it. You drag out. You click on the center and the edge, and now I can create an ellipse. And you'll be able to constrain this later if you want to constrain it to a given geometry or other feature. Once you click OK, there it is. And notice I can grab the handles and change the shape after the fact. I can even change the angle of the ellipse. That's true of all of these parts. If you grab a feature, unless it's already been dimensioned, you can grab any edge. In this case, I would grab, let me see if I can change the size of the polygon. Polygon seems to be slightly different there. I would grab the circle, the inscribed circle. You can have an in or outscribed circle. And with my original rectangles, I can grab any corner, and notice because, again, it has not been constrained, it has no relations applied to it yet, I can move any corner at will. However, if I look at the rectangle, the true rectangle, that is the right angle one, if I grab a corner, I am constrained. The facing sides are parallel and it's a right angle in each corner, so it's more limited intentionally than this rubber banding thing, this free-floating four-sided polygon. Just a couple more here. If I want to create a fillet in a corner, I would click on Sketch Fillet, and let's say I wanted to fillet this corner right here. I could either click on an edge, a line and a line. Let me make the fillet bigger. I'll make it 0.5, I think, because there we go. Half inch. These are quite large features that I'm creating here. So there's a half inch radius fillet. Another way I could do this would be to click on the corner itself. In fact, I can click on multiple corners, and each time I do so, it gets added to the list of entities to fillet. And when I click the checkbox, now I have a rounded corner rectangle. Notice that there are some dimensions that have shown up. Let me come out of this. This one shows the half-inch fillet. Again, when we get into dimensioning, you'll see how to change these and add your own dimensions. Okay, one more here and then we'll finish up this video. There's a text tool. If you have the need to add text on the actual part, and you'll see there are instances where you may want to emboss or engrave text into a face, frequently used for like 3D printing or things where you have that opportunity. I could, for example, say hello world. Those of you in programming will like that. Got to spell it right here. Hello world. And you can use the document font, or you can choose a font that is more pleasing to you. Any of the available system fonts are things that you can use. So I'll just pick one at random. Let's see what we got here. It really doesn't matter. Bauhaus, that's a good one. And you can change the size. You can use units of inches or millimeters, depending what standard you're using, or points. I'll make it 18 points high and accept that. And I seem to have lost my text. Oh, there it is. You can drag it around, and if you want to go back and re-edit it to change the font, for example, or add additional text, you can do that at any time. So that's it. That's some of our basic drawing tools. The next video will be trimming, converting, and offsetting.
Thank you for watching. This video is part of a series created by Neil Rosenberg and Joseph Caswell. All rights reserved.